So I'm still figuring out the settings to this mic, so please bear with me. I got a new one because someone commented on my last video and said that the audio was terrible, and I hope that he feels personally and financially responsible because this mic set me back quite a few shekels. Recently, Mad Max was on sale on the Steam store for like $7, so of course I bought it again. When I say again, yes, I have owned this game before, and on like 4 different accounts, but they all got VAC banned. Why did they get VAC banned? That's not important. But what is important is this game, because it's good. This game came out nearly 6 years ago. 6 years, holy shit, what the fuck, I'm gonna be dead like tomorrow. It came out a few months after Fury Road, and no one really talked about it that much. Not as much as they should have. This is a big AAA game and it is really good, so fuck it, I'm gonna talk about it. Everyone knows that games which are turned into movies don't end up usually being very good. But what about movies which are turned into games? I remember playing this Megamind game on my PS3 and actually having fun with it, probably because I was a dumbass kid who would have found eating bricks entertaining, but to each their own, I suppose. Movie games are generally associated with big franchises like Star Wars or Harry Potter, and Mad Max is somewhat of a big franchise now, made even bigger thanks to the success of Fury Road, which did release prior to the game tie-in. Unfortunately though, Mad Max had the same release date as Metal Gear Solid 5, and it did not do well. It undersold heavily. The game also had a pretty mediocre critic score, which I'll never understand, but whatever. I am the voice of reason, and my judgment is final, so I will decide if this game is good or not. The game starts immediately in the middle of some shit. There's no build-up. The initial cutscene immediately introduces you to the antagonist, Scrotum Man, who you kill, and the game ends, but it doesn't. Following the intro fight scene, you're left with nothing, and the game begins here. Right off the bat, I love it. It's so simple, and it's all that it needs to be. The character of Max has been set up, and your objective is clear. The roughly 20 hours which it takes to complete this game is spent mostly destroying enemy camps and convoys in search of scrap. Scrap is used to upgrade your magnum opus, inching ever closer towards the Big Chief V8, which Cumboy won't shut his damn mouth about. Of course, now I've mentioned Chumbucket and I have to talk about him. A filthy, greasy little rat who you have by your side for the entire game. It's funny to make jokes about him, but my opinion of Cumbucket is pretty undecided, and I'll come back to that later. The main grind of this game, like I said, is collecting scrap. Meanwhile, you lower the threat of the Scrotus Horde in different characters' territories. Doing so unlocks a few new upgrades for your car, but beyond what is required, there really is no benefit to lowering the threat to 0 in all of the territories. Unless you want to be a completionist, which I have done, and it actually was pretty fun. The rate at which you gather scrap is generous. You get enough from each camp to make it feel worth it, and it can also be improved through using Griffer tokens. There are also some times when you'll see these scrap trucks that carry basically an entire landfill in the truck bed. These give you a ridiculous amount of scrap, which, like, you just shouldn't get that much, probably. Sandstorms too will send these giant flying crates your way which contain like 300 or 400 scrap. Who knows where they came from, they're just there. So if you can deal with the eardrum bursting fucking volume of the sandstorms, which literally can't be adjusted by the way, then by all means go and get those crates. What the fuck is going on? It's so loud! Next I want to talk about vehicle and hot guy customization. It's pretty good, but I feel like there was potential for it to be so much more in depth. I will say the customization for Max is what I'm happy with, especially the fact that you can take his shirt off. Oh my. It's more so the vehicles which I think could have been so much better. All vehicle upgrades improve the stats of the Magnum Opus, which can be annoying because a lot of the time the superior upgrades look worse than the inferior ones. So I wish that there was maybe a separate skill tree for upgrading the car's stats that was different from the visual customization, so that if you preferred the look of a lower tier bumper like I do, then you wouldn't be penalized for that. If they had gone with a system like this, then they could have pulled off way more customization than what exists currently, because some of the enemy vehicles look so much cooler than the Magnum Opus ever can. I also am really infuriated by the fact that everything on the Magnum Opus is always rusty. I get that this is an apocalyptic world, but this car is meant to be the car in the wasteland. The one which NPCs talk about and spread rumors about a golden chariot like it's legend, which would be so much cooler if it were true. All of the paint jobs leave so much rust and shit on the car that it's like not even worth getting them. All of the upgrades as well are rusty and worn and shit, except for the V8s, which I'm really thankful for. There is a gold paint job that you can get, and it's fucking abysmal. Like, imagine how good this shit will look if it was all shiny. I do recognize that this maybe would have been a lot of work. I'm mostly happy with the customization which exists. And this is Mad Max. Cars are crazy. Why the fuck did I type this so incoherently? I can't even. Cars are crazy, and no matter how much customization they do have, there's always room for more. Let's move on to the story now. Mad Max is a really deep analytical commentary on capitalism in society and the fact that basic human needs have been privatized and are being sold for money. Mad Max is actually about a guy called Max who is just a little bit mad. This game really isn't very deep, and that's perfectly fine. Max wants his V8 in his car so that he can drive off into the plains of silence and be alone like a loser, because he doesn't like people. And I don't blame him. This game is about getting what you need for your car and blowing shit up and killing anyone who gets in your way. Towards the end of the game, the story gets a little deeper, or at least it tries to. After you get your V8, Cum Bucket steals your car and takes it back to his house or whatever, and this concubine woman and her, I think, daughter or stolen, adopted, orphan, dirty, gross, bath-needing child wants you to stay with them and be a family. But Max says no and drives off to go get his car back and kills this guy who wears faces. The face-wearing man reveals that Scrotum Man... Okay, this is fucking ridiculous. Scrotum Man plans on killing the woman and her child. And they're dead. And it's really depressing and dark, but it's also a nice human moment because Max still has feelings and isn't a sociopath quite yet, because he actually did care about the child and the woman. But then that moment is shattered because when you go to kill Scrotum, the woman and the child are saying shit like, yeah, fuck him up, blow his brains out, eat his ass, which is like, they definitely did not ever say.
Paint my name in their blood. Paint my name.
Do it. The only thing you know how. Kill him.
Seriously though, I really do like the ending because it shows that Max is willing to sacrifice his car that he spent all this time working on for revenge for these two people that he cares about. And Chumbucket decides that he wants to die with your car, which is totally fine by me. And at the end you get your Interceptor, the double barrel, and Max's jacket back. And I think that's a really cool way to end the game. This game is underrated, and I think that more people should absolutely give it a chance.
Won't somebody tell me an answer if you can? I want someone to tell me what is the soul of a man? I'm going to ask a question. Answer if you can. Will anyone